This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock.
Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena there is a players tour going on. What is a players tour, you may actually have to ask, because the pro system, the competitive system in Magic, is a little convoluted and messed up. Well, a players tour used to be called a pro tour. It's a basically competitive event involving usually somewhere between 100 and 400 of the best players in the world. This one has 145 players, and because of current world conditions, everybody is staying home and playing on their computer, and there's coverage, and it's on the official Magic website, and it's all of the known, popular, and great players of the game, including the MPL, the Magic Pro League, battling it out for a bunch of prizes. I assume there is a dollar amount attached to it. I didn't bother to memorize the dollar amount. If you want more information on exactsies about the Players Tour, Google it. But what do I get into Players Tours for? Decks. Deck lists. I want to know what the best players in the world bring to a tournament where there is a prize and prestige on the line. I want to know what's really good. And what's been amazing in best of 3 tournaments for some time now is Team of Reclamation. The deck just keeps dominating. If you've listened to the podcast, we've talked about it a lot. Best of 1 has been a sort of a weird safe space from Team of Reclamation, where Red and Rakdos and Ugin Ramp, like these things still exist and seem to be thriving, and people may or may not be happy about it, but currently, like, metas in best of 3 tournaments are over 50% Team of Reclamation. Team of Reclamation hasn't taken over best of 1, and it probably should be played more in best of 1. I'm pretty sure if I played Team of Reclamation every single day, I would be top 100 Mythic by now with a really sweet list for it. And I think we have to go back, we have to revisit Team of Reclamation, and because the last time I did it, I was just trying out new cards from M21. At this point, M21 is pretty close to a bust for competitive play. There's a few impact cards. We'll get to one in a moment. You, Mr. Hollow. But for the most part, the set has not brought it. So getting a good best of 1 list of Team of Rec, maybe we can light the ladder on fire. Some of you are like, no, don't do it. Team of Rec's a good deck, and it's a good control deck, and it's interesting to play. It's pretty hard to play too, and I think that it would be a nice counter. It would be a nice competitive counter for all these red decks and Rakdos decks and Mythic. I also don't know what the ladder is like on, say, Diamond, Platinum, Gold, but up here, the aggro still flourishes. So, I said all that to set up Ken Yukuhiro, because enter the amazing Japanese, and I use this just figuratively for effect, samurai swordsman, because what I remember about Ken Yukuhiro, he's been brewing innovative, awesome decks for years, and I've been watching old Pro Tour footage, and he's been around for a long time, but I remember him mostly was he was the one who brought, like, Mardu Knights, but it had black in it for Regisaur, and it used Embercleave, and it was just Embercleave, my Rotting Regisaur, and he played that while everybody else was playing Oko, and I was like, yes, Dino Sword! Is so insanely hype. But Ken Yukuhiro is back with the Rotting Regisaur here today in the Players Tour, and this deck actually is 6-2, right? 5-2? 5-2 or 6-2 going into day 2, and it's an interesting deck that I haven't seen anywhere. The coverage is calling it Esper Midrange, but how often do you see Rotting Regisaur stand next to Teferi Time Raveler? So this is the part where my intro gets kind of comes back around full circle to why I talk about all this stuff like Team of Rec and best of 3 metagame. The edge that you can get in best of 1 is that most people copy decks from best of 3 and just play them in best of 1 and give it very little thought. And there are very few content creators who watch the competitive scene and have an eye on it for purpose of best of 1. So I'm going to show you how I take a best of 3 deck and make it a best of 1 deck. And if you just do this, you're going to gain an advantage over most of the other people who play best of 1 on ladder or in play queue. Just this thing. You know how sideboards work? You get these 15 cards, you bring them in, you take them out. All you usually have to do is take that best of 3 deck and sideboard it for the meta you expect. In my case, red, Rakdos, and a little bit of ramp. All right? Because if I run Mystical Dispute and my opponents are not playing blue spells, then my deck is pretty funky, and I would probably play 2 or 3 games with this pile, and I would lose them, and I'd be upset. Now, I have not played any games at all with this pile yet. I look at it, and I'm like, okay, we got Dinosaur, Sphinx of Foresight? Holy crap, we just want that Scry, I guess. We got Seasoned Hollowblade and Tithe Taker. This is one of the weirdest Brazen Borrower. This is one of the weirdest aggro decks I've ever seen. Who runs Kunaros? Like, holy crap. And I also look at this deck and I'm like, I'm going to lose to Claim the Firstborn. But anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to de-sideboard the deck by putting the cards that basically name one color in the sideboard. We can hang on to Aether Gust. Normally I would take out the Aether Gust. Aether Gust has another utility here. It can be discarded to Hollowblade or Regisaur if our opponent doesn't have targets. And the most popular decks we play against do have targets, so I think keeping Aether Gust is fine. Another card that's narrow that I'm not sure if I'm going to keep is Veto. But basically what we do is we sideboard for the meta we expect to see. I want another Dire Tactics. I want to be able to remove more creatures. I want Kaya. I want to be able to gain life and exile Witch's Ovens. I think that's pretty important. I either want the 3rd Aether Gust or some of these Legion's End. And the Legion's End in the sideboard is also kind of funky. You don't see that too often anymore. So I think what I'm going to do is grab 2 Legion's End and leave 1 Dovin's Veto, because obviously Veto is amazing against Temerek, but not amazing against other decks. But who knows, maybe we counter a Claim the Firstborn or something like that. It's tempting to just add the 3rd Aether Gust over the Veto, honestly, because I do think that Aether Gust will have more applications in current Standard right now than the Veto does, at least in best of 1. And then voila! Has made deck. Now this is the best of 1 version. I think that a big mistake that people also make is they see the deck and they're like, oh, it doesn't run this card in these colors, and I always run this card in these colors. I'm just going to throw out a stupid example. Narset, you know, or Teferi Master of Time, or Elspeth Conquers Death. And they're immediately like, I can't believe it doesn't run this. I'm just going to add that card. I try to play the deck first. Like, this is net decking and adapting for best of 1 class with CGB. I try to play the deck first, because it might not need that card. As much as I think an Elspeth Conquers Death would be a pretty cool swerve and a pretty cool angle, it's probably not what the deck is actually about. Alright, we've put together our best of 1 list with a little bit of sideboarding. Now we can dive in. Let's see how this does. I haven't played any games with it before, like I said. This is going to be a first look, so let's let the nonsense begin. If a hand is good, it's probably this one. Let's try it. Do we crack Fabled Passage to make sure we can play a 3-drop on turn 3? I think we do, and we get a blue source because we might want to cast a Brazen Borrower straight up. And what is our treasure hunting opponent playing today? Possibly mono green? Well, Borrower can bounce the token, but Kaya can also exile it. I think for now we get the Tithe Taker down. Tithe Taker can also trade with it, make a 1/1. Feels like we have to be the control deck in this matchup. I don't think there's any way I'm fast enough to not be, but I'm not sure how I outvalue the deck. Or overpower it. Okay, our opponent has a host of cards. I feel like Kaya should exile the Pelt Collector, but if I play Kaya now and the opponent... Well, the opponent would need to pump these somehow to kill it. I think Kaya's likely to live, and the opponent doesn't really want to start trading away the 1/1s.
I'm gone for now, but not forever.
Alright, do stuff, Kaya. course, the 5/5s are coming. But the opponent doesn't attack. You gotta love that, because you can keep ticking this down and exiling the 1/1s. And we have double Brazen Borrower and Dire Tactics that we can play this turn. We could just clear the board and get in 2 points of damage, but that doesn't play around Questing Beast, which is something we're going to have to keep in mind. Let's pay 2 life, get another source, and just hold up. Our opponent still has 4 cards. We have 3, but these are not exchanges. So the opponent's trying to go to combat. Let's get rid of the 1/1 so that the Lovestruck Beast has to stay home. Gem Razor, just straight up, 4 mana. I still think I'm supposed to hold this. I don't have many artifacts or enchantments to worry about. Let's bounce this. It took their whole turn. It's not like we're getting tremendously ahead here at all. We're not doing much, but we're not falling behind either. Let's get another blue source on the field. Pass the turn. We're probably going to need to just start pecking with Brazen Borrower, as our opponent now is way ahead of us on cards. At least cards that are pretty relevant. There's the Gem Razor. I still think I should hold off on the Tactics here. The Tactics is kind of my last shot. Opponent with 1 mana. We might be thinking about a Stonecoil Serpent, but why would they? No, it must be something else. Otherwise, they wouldn't play the Gem Razor if they had a Stonecoil to put it on. Ah, a fight effect is coming. And they go for a Primal Might on the Tithe Taker. I think that's just fine. Who cares about the 2/1? We get a 1/1 out of the deal, and it can attack, but this has reach. Oof. Let's see what we draw before committing the Tactics. It's kind of a waste of 2 mana, though. I guess if I'm going to draw land from here, then sitting on Dire Tactics won't save me anyway. And I should have played this before the Tithe Taker died, because now I'm going to take some damage for this. So, learning the deck. My first few games with the deck can be rough. That's a good draw. I guess I'll hit the Primal Might.
You're not well. I'll be back. Just you wait.
We've exiled all their stuff, so we can't gain life from it. And Aether Gust doesn't put it in the graveyard either. It's causing some trouble. Oh my goodness, they scooped. Alright, so the strategy is to frustrate them. Frustrate them into concession. Oof, this hand. Like, we fetch blue, but then we don't have black. We fetch black, then we don't have blue. It's a mess. I don't know what to fetch. Maybe I'm just supposed to mulligan it because of that. But, like, almost any land off the top, and we've got a playable hand. I think I fetch black. Dire Tactics and Hollowblade and possible Kunaros on the play, I think, is better than the blue cards. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'm just supposed to mulligan it if it doesn't have perfect mana, but most of our lands produce multiple colors. So it feels like I should be able to make this work. There's another Fabled Passage on top. Rip. Mono Green Day, everybody? Like, what am I... Did I miss the memo? I honestly have no idea if that's good matchup, bad matchup. Scoos. How bad is Scoos for me? Do I care about Graveyard? Attacking through the Hollowblade is going to be kind of weird for them. I'm already in the tank. But I think I'm supposed to play like a 3/3 lifelink, but I also have all these fight spells to play around, right? Maybe I'm just supposed to say go and try to get to where I have 2 mana and I can deploy my cards so that I can protect them from fight spells. It's not like the opponent can attack from this position. I don't think that's assertive enough, though. I'm going to try putting the Hound on the battlefield. Woof. Uh-huh. That doesn't blow up anything, though. So, could be worse. And they don't even attack because they don't want to trade. Love it. Love it. So we could exile this and then get aggressive. That definitely swings things. Should I do that or should I Brazen Borrower? Should probably just Brazen Borrower it, right? I could Teferi, but I like having mana for the other side open. Yeah, Brazen Borrower is pretty good here. What you got? Can always discard the Godless Shrine to the Hollowblade if we want. The Ooze doesn't do anything until there are creatures in the yard. Opponent poking around. Cast the Gemrazor. Fine with me. We could exile it, or we could Teferi it and then hold up Tactics next turn. I think I like that a lot better. Just make the opponent play the expensive card again. We have drawn enough blue sources. That is very nice.
Let's slow this down. I've got it.
It really is a tempo deck. Like, we really are just setting them back again and again, forcing them to replay their threats. Now they block here. We'll drop off this Godless Shrine, I guess. Make use of that extra land. Very crafty. 6 mana does Pelt Collections. And Pelt Collections, okay. And Gemrazor. Well, not gonna stop these from growing, but the exile effect does... The exile effect does make sure that it doesn't grow, they don't grow twice. The opponent still has 3 cards. We're gonna have to figure out how to win the game. If we attack with both, the double block is pretty bad for us. If I had a bounce spell, though, it would be so much better. And I think the opponent will double block. So, that's not worth it.
Here we go.
Hollowblade. Would you like to block this card? We give away that we don't have a removal spell with this, so it might be a mistake. But let's get another blade down, and then we'll get a borrower down, and then our 3 power creatures will just try to punk them out. Ooh, okay. That's bad. That is bad. That's not great. Not the draw I was really looking for. But if we attack with both, the stone... Well, it depends what the Stone Cold blocks. If we attack with all, they probably eat this, go to 2. And then how do we finish them? I'm not sure. And they still have to attack the Teferi, or there's a bounce for it. We could just attack with these. If the opponent blocked 2 of them, we can kill a Pelt Collector. If they blocked 1, we just discard a land. It's not terrible. Next turn, they probably have at least 1 more creature, maybe 2. These get larger. Then attacking into them is a lot worse. That makes me think I have to go now. Gotta try to get there. Ooh, they are blocking the Hollowblades? I think that would be a mistake, but they're doing it. But they're not doing it. Okay, those are the blocks I expected. Alright, we get to kill 2 Pelt Collectors and keep our Menace creature. We can also play a Sphinx instead, which is a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think we play the Sphinx. Opponent to 5. Those scries might help this top deck war.
Don't worry, I got this.
Okay, they were holding a henge. That's gonna make them feel better. Gem Razor's still no targets here. I mean, Stonecoil could attack the Teferi, but that's a big risk. They're doing it. I mean, that's death if I peel something, and I get a scry for it too. And like almost any removal or bounce spell, but they're going for it because otherwise the Teferi bounce just sets them back too much. So this is our opportunity. We get a scry too. Just some interactive piece that will do. Snap keep. Damn. Tempo. Seasoned Hollow Blade. What a card. Our opponent has a Nissa Avatar, no companion. Is it Mono Green Day and I missed it? Anyway, we have blue, white, black, so our colors are good, and we have a Sphinx. We'll need a double blue if we actually want to play the Sphinx. And, oh, you're mono red, of course you are. Also, something to keep in mind, the Fabled Passage and whether or not we want to use that. I think keeping a Temple on top is fine. Then we have these cards. I think they're all fine in this matchup. It's a waste of a scry, to be honest, but oh well. Mono red on the draw. One of life's worst experiences, but at least they didn't rob me. Yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Alright, so what would we discard? There isn't even much I want to discard, but the Hollow Blade might be threatening enough that the champion, like, they'll have to decide whether or not to swing. That's a big deal. We definitely want a human on the field for the dire tactics. I guess we have another Tithe Taker coming off the top, so discarding the Tithe Taker is fine. We could also discard the Sphinx because it's not a very good card. The 4/4 flyer is nice and all, but have you met Embercleave? Have you met Torbran? Bonecrusher Giant. We could discard a card to keep this or just let it die. Alright, we'll keep it. They have to attack us not just this turn, but every turn. All in Rim Rocker, huh? If the Rim is rockin'. So, do we need to hold open removal for Embercleave? That's the question here. And I guess we do? Just play land, say go. Next turn we can do like Tithe Taker and hold up something else. They go in for a Giant, so they're not going to attack. Gusting the Giant doesn't seem great. But if we don't do something, we basically don't use our mana this turn. That's pretty rough. Alright. Giant doesn't beat the Hollow Blade in a heads up anyway. Alright, my turn. Do we want to fetch a swamp? We can't fetch a swamp with this. So we need to hold up black-white, so I do need to crack my passage now. There's only one more swamp in the deck after all. Alright, so white-black can be that, so just about anything here is fine. I have a lot more white, though, in my hand than blue. Although we could draw Brazen Borrower and such. And you have to think about it, because I know I have another passage, but I might end up discarding it. Alright, let the battle continue. There's an Annex. We can exile or gust that. So let it resolve for now. Let the opponent think it exists, because then they might attack, thinking they get tokens. But they don't. Let's go ahead and use the tactics here. Aether Gust can be better. And it's also easier to cast. Oh my goodness. This is getting ugly. Should probably just hold these, right? I mean, I've had uses for 5 lands, but the Seasoned Hollowblade is kind of keeping me together. I learned in the Arclight Phoenix video, you gotta hold those land when you might be able to use them for something. Seems. Still staring at each other, waiting for good cards to come rolling out of the deck. We've drawn a lot of land in a row. It's been really brutal. Now the opponent's doing runaway Steam Kinny stuff. And they're not missing a beat anymore. Like, they haven't drawn any land. We've drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're on 3. If I get rid of my piece of interaction, I probably can't win. A little late. Doesn't really do too much here, though. Gains a little life, I suppose. Sure. We'll see if the opponent wants to swing with that. But yeah, here's the part where we gust the Torbrand. And try to punish the opponent as best we can for this attack. So, Kunaros eat a Scorch Spitter because Ferv is coming back. You can take out a Steamkin, I think. You too can take out Steamkins. And then we take 6. But we gain 3. So we're down to 5. The next turn we gain it again. So we'll be at 8 again. This will put us at 3. And our opponent will have not enough attackers to kill us with the Torbrand. So this is okay. Keeping the land that can be untapped pain-free. Alright, we need a Brazen Borrower. We need to draw something. That'll do. That will do. Alright, do we want to attack with anything else? I guess I'm happy to block here and here, so we should attack with the 1/1s. I don't know if the opponent will attack in like they did last turn, though. Pretty happy, though, to trade here, or block anything else, so... And we know they're not going to have any removal, because we know their hand. We know it's on top of their deck. Yep, here's Torbrand again. We do the same thing, we wait for the attacks. Trigger on the stack. Gust it again. Just let them blow themselves out. Get it? Like blown away like with a strong gust of wind. They kept Torbrand again. They're going to have almost no threats after this. That's really bizarre to me. Alright, up to 9. I can hit the opponent here for 8, then they can't really attack me. The game's not over, though. We keep drawing land, and it's not great. Yep, we all know about that card now. Do you dare attack, though? Then you can't block Kunaros. Wow. Mono red only do things one way. I mean, considering I get the life right back, that's a terrible attack. Down to 2. Oh my goodness. And we've got the 2 1/1 flyers. What's gonna happen? If they attack with both, I'm going to be rolling my eyes at their Embercleave so hard. But does that even beat me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope. That doesn't beat me. But they're doing it. Could do this. Could do this. I think this is best. We only need the pair of 2/2s to pull this off. Told ya. Every time. If their life is peril, here's the Embercleave. Every time. But it doesn't matter. They're dead. Would be a bad time to have mismathed, that's for sure. Whew. That was mono red. They played mono red. Just attack till they're dead. Okay. This will help us hit our land drop. So we keep it. I think this is solid against a number of different decks. The Kaya is questionable. Maybe the Kaya should be the Dovin's Vetoes. I just figured Witch's Oven had to go. We haven't even seen it. Nobody's playing the Oven. But Oven versus Dinosaur is a matchup won by Oven most of the time. There's huge market for cooked Dino. We also have a turn 1 Temple, so we get a lot of scries for the land, but if we have the land we want, it's kind of meh, because we have to keep on top anyway. There's the untapped land. Actually, all the lands we need. But do we want another Sphinx of Foresight? I have no idea. Probably not, but it's probably better than drawing too much land. I mean, this is just turn 2 Tithe Taker, turn 3 Regis Sword, turn 4 Sphinx, turn 5 Sphinx. Might be strong. It's a lot of power. Worst case, I'll always just throw it away to this Dinosaur. Haha. But that's kind of what I'm expecting Kaya to do. Alright. Blue mana spotted. Tithe Taker. You will not play on my turn. Not without paying the tithe. Well, if they play Wraths, then you're going to wish this Legion's End or this Kaya or a Dovin's Veto. So just imagine that, right? Because that's how these would play in best of 3. In the main deck, these would be Mystical Dispute or Dovin's Veto. You can see how that's really appealing against a blue deck. Opponent's trying to figure out who in this freaking world plays Sphinx of Foresight and Tithe Taker. They're Googling right now. They're looking for the net deck. Oh my gosh, if they're Simic Flash, they're probably so angry. They're so angry right now. Oh my, that's what it is. That's what it is. Simic Flash gamer located. They're like, do I brazen borrow this? You gotta do something. You don't have any timeouts and you're almost out of time. Yep. Yep. Alright. Well, you used your Brazen Borrower on my Tithe Taker. Roar. Might have been better to replay Tithe Taker. Hard to say, though. Now I get to punch the opponent in the face. I'm looking forward to it. This is clearly not a matchup for that gal. Raw. So, I would love to play Tithe Taker on a turn when I also have something else to play. So let's force the opponent to play a counter spell here and go for the Sphinx. Because if their plan is just to Borrower, that's so bad. Alright, Lofty Denial. And they say go. Ambusher, Unlock. Let's drop off cards that we're not sure if they'll be good. Oh, 2. We get to play 2 furs. Attack first. The opponent might have like a Frilled Mystic and they want to chump block this. Down to 6. Yep, you're going to be blocking for a while. We play this, they counter it. We play Hollow Blade, they don't. Hollow Blade's a little better. Tithe Taker's better though, right? They're going to rewind anyway. Neither of these are particularly good against Ambusher. All right. Let the Hollow Blade resolve, guys. And here's the Wolfie boy, and that's what it takes, right? They've got to have it. Now we need an interactive piece. Yeah, we just need some kind of a removal spell. And we need it to resolve, so that's awkward. Bye, Sphinx. You were a good Sphinx. There's a borrower. So we could go after the ambusher, but the opponent probably counters it. Probably. If we wait till end step, maybe they do something, or we just do this on their turn. If we attack, they don't block with both because we can kill both. So let's do that. So this is a chump. Yep. And then on their turn, we try to interact. They counter it, they don't get the wolf. If they don't get the wolf, then they don't have a good blocker for the Regisaur. And they've got to be nervous here. I mean, they can play this. It means my Brazen Borrower could resolve. And then they have to block this. But if they counter on their turn, they have to block the Regisaur anyway. But I'd still rather have the 3-1. Alright. I think we do this now. So now they currently don't have any blockers coming. We got that out of our hand. So the Regisaur won't discard it. And we have an option, another threat that we can play, even though it can be blocked by their borrower, which was otherwise a pretty lame duck play. Strong.
Strange and magnificent world. Be wary of the ground you walk on.
That also makes blockers. No attack though. Opponent's definitely frustrating me. Also, held back the Brazen Borrower. So they have to block this or they die. So I could put Nissa to 1 or I could put opponent to 1. They might also have other effects, of course. But yeah, we go face. Once they block here, they can't really counter anything. They have 5. They need 3 mana if they're going to like use a Brazen Borrower. Okay, down to 1 they go. So now we can resolve this. And we should. Tithe Taker, I guess they could have a mystical dispute. Anyway, it's a lot to handle when you're at 1 life. But they do have a Nissa. It's a close game, and our top decks have to be good. Our top decks are under pressure. What do they need? 3 total blockers. So they get 1 from Nissa. They played their ambusher on their main phase. Whoa, double wolf. Okay, they got more blockers. More blockers achieved. Bottom. Thank you.
The land shall conquer you.
Yeah, we are under pressure. This is trouble. That is a card. I'm sure it gets countered. But wait, what do they have available? Not much. If they have a Lofty Denial... If we resolve this, we win. But if they have like Lofty Denial here, we could play around it. What do they have? This is really tough. If I attack with the Borrower, I can force them to block, then their Lofty Denial doesn't stop the Teferi. The Tithe Taker also becomes a 1/1, which could just be lethal. And the Regisaur has to be defended. Let's go for it. I have to assume they have something here, but the most likely candidate is Lofty Denial. Do I attack with the Dino? The opponent will double block with ambushers. We kill one. The other will have 3 damage on it. What if they block with an ambusher and... I could also throw the Hollow Blade into the mix. It's not like it's doing a lot. Everything has to be blocked. They can't double block anything if I also attack with the Hollow Blade. And if they can't double block anything, we're in a good spot. Alright, Afterlife Creature achieved. Fairy.
I am not going to sit this one.
Bounce an Ambusher.
No, I am not making this
Draw an
one.
Aether Gust? Holy crap. I could Aether Gust the Nissa. That takes away a huge amount of mana from them. We have to gust something sometime, though, and this also denies the Wolf. Do we go for the Draw Step Gust? I think so. But if we gust right now, we get rid of... The Nissa has to be replayed, which is most of their mana. And then they can't attack with both, but they do get a Wolf. No, they don't. They can't counter it anyway. We wait. Because Teferi's on the board. And that's the scoop. That was a game. Our deck definitely presented a ton of ways to be annoying, and we had a good series of draws, but that was a very interesting game. I really wish I could see their hand. If they had a Lofty Denial or like a Negate, I played perfectly. If they didn't, I definitely took the hard way. This hand... On one hand, it looks terrible. On the other hand, we don't draw land again for a long time if we use the Sphinxes, and probably have a nice curve of threats and answers, but we don't know what our opponent's playing. This is such a weird hand. I have to try it, you know, for science. I have to try it. This is mono red. Crap. Alright, well, we're going to be way behind. Do I want a dinosaur? Yes, I want a dinosaur. What else do I want? I need a 2-drop very badly. I'm not going to get one. Oh my goodness, Shuffler's fine. Alright. Need to find us a Tithe Taker. Wow. Look at the bottom of my deck. Knights. Great. Guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lands with 6 lands on the bottom of my library. 6 land. We have seen 11 land and 4 spells, and our opening hand had 4 land. In the meantime, our opponent couldn't be happier. Like life is but a dream for them. No, it doesn't have haste. Okay. I mean, if you've got it, you've got it. There you go. There you go. I mean, really, could they have done better? I don't think so. Could their hand have... Oh, that's just trolling me. Alright, just take a moment. Really appreciate what happens if you actually manage to win 4 games in a row. This is what you can expect. Hand seems pretty good. And we get to be on the play. So, Watery Grave, Tithe Taker. I guess we could play this and then we don't have to pay life next turn, and we could curve out perfectly if we just draw a bunch of islands and Fabled Passage and never have to shock. So we'll start with the Godless Shrine. Alright, opponent plays Steam Vents, let's go. Let's frickin' go. Jeskai, what the hell are you? Planeswalker deck of some kind. Terrible matchup, probably. Don't think I'm equipped for it. I guess we'll get a Teferi down.
I can no longer
It's tempting to
stand
bounce
by and
this.
watch.
Let the opponent have all the lands they want, because if they play a Narset, we end up in a really bad spot, and I need to keep getting cards.
Trust me, I have a plan.
So that feels weird, but they really don't want to spend 2 mana fetching planes most of the game if we're going to play a tempo game with them. And there's their own Teferi. Fun.
That's more like it.
Hey, they have to discard. See? My plan was brilliant. Dino. Do they have a way to kill it?
I'll protect you.
And do I have to attack Teferi? I think that's one of the problems I have the most with this deck. No haste, no ways to reach out, kill Teferi, and have something left over. So if this card is meta, this deck is probably bad, but obviously that's not the meta this deck even prepared for. What? Oh, we got somebody full of nonsense. Oh, thank God. I thought this game was going to be hard. Okay. I thought they were going to build decks. I thought they were going to play, you know, competitively. I don't have anything to worry about here. All right. So let's play the Tithe Taker. We can bounce the Whirlwind or we can gust the Whirlwind. I guess I'm trying to think of like a red card that I would want to gust instead. Like, I guess, what is the card? Solar Blaze? They probably don't run that. Let's get the Teferi off the board.
We will meet again.
Bounce this now, bounce this later. Let's bounce it now. They might spend their whole turn playing it again, and I would love to have a Brazen Borrower ready to flash in if they don't walk into this. I could still lose this game. I'm just talking trash over people who play Whirlwind of Thought. It is a fun card. I don't deny that, but it's not that far off, quite honestly, from cards like Outlaw's Merriment, which other people like that card as well, but these are traps. You know, 4 mana, do nothing traps. That Tail's End, I didn't even notice they discarded this, but maybe this Teferi is working on their deck. Alright, Sky Shattered. Card for me.
That's more like it.
I could hold up the Gust for the Whirlwind of Thought and play the Brazen Borrower, or I could play the Sphinx. There's pluses and minuses to both. I think the Sphinx is best if I expect my opponent to keep attacking. The opponent's not going to play the Whirlwind again because it just gets bounced by Teferi. So if we know they're not going to play it, let's just drop this. I do wonder if this deck would actually benefit from a card like a Rankle. It's not like we have a ton of fodder. Tithe Taker looks like fodder, but for the most part, we are not a deck full of fodder.
Trust me.
Yep.
You'll thank me later.
Yep.
This might be a bad idea.
God, this deck gets wrecked by Teferi. Very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. Alright, get that off the field. We can gust that. Sphinx again, like we did last summer. Do I dare bounce the Birth? I mean, I don't care that much about their wall, but I do want them to play this Whirlwind into this Gust. So to bait that play, I think this is the right play.
I've done the hero thing before.
There it is. We got Aether Gust to hit something and just punish the opponent for liking this card. like a proper evil mage. Oh my goodness, third Teferi. Where's their Elspeth Conqueror's Death? That's what I'm wondering. Are they just slow rolling it because they get to keep torturing a Sphinx? Or do they really not have it yet?
Trust me, I have a plan. This is hardly my worst defeat.
If I play Regisaur, the opponent might be scared of playing Whirlwind. And then I can also flash him Borrower, but I don't really want to discard anything. The other option is to play all these creatures so that the opponent's Whirlwind looks pretty bad. I think that's better. This Whirlwind could still end up like being a player here. We've kind of conceded that the opponent gets a million cards and we don't have haste to punish them. Go ahead, play Birth again. Wow, how many planes do you run? I guess we're about to find out. Not 6. The answer is not 6. Kaya off the top. We can exile, we can start hitting the graveyard for the inevitable Elspeth Conquers Death moment. But we definitely need to Teferi this. Oh, that's pretty good. Now they get the walls. Kaya can eat walls. Teferi can bounce walls. What do you think their hand is made up of here? And they do have to worry about the damage from these flyers at some point. Nope. You want to draw it again? Do you want to draw it again? Alright, it goes to the bottom. Opponent's like, I got 2 cards out of it. I had to work extra hard for it. I invested about 20 mana. Okay. All Birth of Meletis all day. It makes me really happy I bounced the first one, so that they never got to pile up the walls. That did mostly nothing. Got rid of 1 fly. It got rid of the Tithe Taker. That's it. So do we draw this? Do we need this? I don't think so. I mean, these things are putting in work, but the opponent just doesn't seem to be able to kill this one. Like, they've run Shatter the Sky, that's about it. So this turn, this frickin' turn, what do we do? The dinosaur looks bad if we don't clear these up, so I think we attack with these, we play Brazen Borrower, and we play Kaya. Down to 6. Can play this. Do we even crack it? We know 2 cards on the bottom we don't want. We can definitely slow roll it.
The crueler the opponent, the sweeter the victory.
Maybe we plus Kaya? Yeah. Let's try to make Kaya into a lethal threat. Exile some stuff.
Really better watch your back from here on out.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of birth life. A lot of gross baby stuff. Wow, what's that gonna do? Can't be good. Can't be good, but we'll see what they name.
My allies are counting on me.
Rude. Don't have a good way to deal with that right now. But, let's see, the opponent does shoot it twice? Doesn't have reach. Doesn't have reach. Okay, point. Gryffindor. Another point.
Suppose that's how it was meant to happen.
Starting to think I should have kept that other Sphinx. And if that's the case, we should crack this. Shuffle it back in. This is 2 life next turn, so we have to add that to our racing stats. This card, pretty much horrible at this point. So Kaya can exile a wall or eat graveyard. And we also have to take out the Karn. Our Teferi can bounce Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower can bounce the Masticore. The opponent plays it again, they have to discard again. That's not terrible. No reach, right? No reach.
There is always another fight.
Get rid of those.
I
You are.
really should
Am
have
I
seen that coming.
Do not pity.
dematerializing? Huh.
Teferi.
Let's slow this down.
Bounce the Borrower. Opponent can kill the Teferi with the Masticore.
I've got time.
Ooh. Well, I'd rather flash in the Borrower and make sure the damage gets done. Keep using the opponent's mana if they want to deal with the Kaya.
This is
And they have to discard to play it. They must have some irrelevant cards in their hand. It might not be a great play if they have a Wrath, though. Maybe that's something I should have been thinking about. But they do have to deal with the Kaya. Alright, land down. This is 8 damage, they're at 9. My goodness. So close. It's so hard to get the last point with this deck, though, because it's just not that kind of deck.
You
Yeah.
have to do better than that.
I miss the haste. I miss the haste that every other creature deck seems to have. It's all board position, and if the opponent has the card in their hand, you can't
That
do
one
much
actually got
about it.
through.
But if they don't... Alright. Top card. Oh, I say that, but if we had vetoes in the deck, obviously that would change things. Hollow Blade, that can survive a Wrath. So that's our play for the turn. The opponent scoops. We can get them to 1, but we can't kill them. I guess they've had enough. Quick outro because I'm pushing that hour mark, but yeah, this deck pulls off wins. I found Rakdos to be absolutely miserable, but I found everything else to be pretty good. There's only one game that I'm going to cut from the video because we're already at an hour, and it was just me getting decimated by Cat Oven Devil. So that was ugly, but that's the only time I played it today, and the deck held its own everywhere else unless the shuffler completely handed it a lemon. So I'm excited to play it more. I feel like there's a few spots that could use work, so let me know what you would do with them. We never even drew Legion's End, which is kind of weird, but considering all the scry and stuff we do, to never even draw a card over the course of several games, that's very weird. The Aether Gust was great, quite honestly, just great. Kaya, hit and miss. Maybe there's something better we can do against Sacrifice. Sacrifice is such a tough deck, though, because of the different angles of attack. I was thinking maybe I want just good old Disenchant for the Oven, you know? Maybe I just want to hit something like an Embercleave, an Annex, an Oven, a Wilderness Reclamation, or an Elspeth Conquers Death, all the other things. Maybe I just want to Disenchant. I don't know. But of course, when that's a dead draw, it's a really dead draw. And I still like a lot of the sideboard. Maybe I should just play some form of counterspell in the main. Maybe we should get Lofty Denial in there, or Quench, or maybe the vetoes are fine. Anyway, let me know what you would put in the flex spots. Thank you for watching this video. It might even be a good mid-range deck in a color combination I enjoy. Teferi, Time Raveler, and Regisaur together. Never thought I'd see the day. So, I'll see you in the next video, and all praise Brewing Master Ken Yukuhiro. Goodbye.